Today on Backstage Agents, we have Ryan McClanahan, touring musician, band guy in the band Koa back in the day, and now real estate agent. He talks about being in a band, the differences between being in a band versus being a sideman in Nashville, and then how he got into real estate. It's a fun one.
Yeah, don't miss it.
Ryan, welcome to Backstage Agents. We're stoked that you're here.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. So where do you come from?
Oh, man. All over, honestly.
Really?
I like to say I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but no one's ever truly from Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in Baltimore, moved to Hendersonville. I moved to Atlanta, north of Atlanta first, like 2 weeks after I was born.
Okay.
Moved to Hendersonville for first grade or kindergarten, Omaha, Nebraska, first grade.
Yeah.
Second grade back in north of Atlanta, like Johns Creek area. So, yeah.
You were all over the place.
But yeah, 2nd through 12th grade, Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised, and came to Nashville to go to Belmont.
Heck yeah.
That's where we met.
That's where we met. And I conveniently forgot the fact that we met at Belmont until we sat down and after you got your real estate license, because that's kind of, tried to block that period out of my life.
This
largely.
is the Belmont support group here. half our guests.
What's really funny is the Belmont tagline is "From here to anywhere." So
it's from here to
down the road.
Yeah. From here to incredible amounts of debt and self-loathing. So
shout out to Belmont.
Thank you, Mike Curb.
Yeah, exactly. So you came to Belmont. Were you one of those music guys who came to play?
Yes and no. Okay. I've played piano my whole life since I was 3 years old, drums since like 5th grade. But I'd looked into, was like, do I want to do music performance side? Or I was like, nah, I think music business is the move, as most people go to Belmont for. And but still wanted to keep playing, and definitely was intimidated at first, kind of getting to town. I was like, oh, I'm not very good at this at all. Yep. So, but, brought it back up and continued to play and joined a band in college and toured for kind of years after that. Still do. So.
Nice. And you're multi-instrumentalist, right? Keys, drums. You're currently touring with Allman Brothers tribute band, right?
That's correct, yeah. End of the line.
Yeah, I saw you guys a couple of weeks ago. Well, I was on my own miserable gig, and I was wishing I was playing with you guys instead, because you guys sounded a lot better.
I know all the words to Jessica, bro.
That's same. Yeah. That and in memory of Elizabeth Reed and all those words.
Yeah.
Crush.
That's awesome.
Crush it.
So what kind of band were you in coming out of college?
Yeah. So it was a band that at first was called Koa, then changed the name to Waker. And all the guys went to Belmont. It was indie rock, soul. We got a sax player. Keys, I played percussion, and then keys and percussion at the end there.
Nice.
Kind of, tiptoeing the lines of Jam, Dave Matthews-y. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So
yeah, those are the devil's words in Nashville. I've learned.
Out of town chords, bro.
Yeah, yep. People don't like Dave Matthews down here, which is funny because I grew up loving Dave Matthews.
I went last year to the Bridgestone. It was sold out. So, I guess somebody loves Dave Matthews here in town.
That is fair. I almost went to that show, but for whatever reason at the last minute didn't. And so you're touring in the band.
Yeah.
How long were you doing that for post-college? Because we kind of all graduated, and I don't know if you were like me, but you just kind of got pushed out there, and you're like, okay, I have this degree. And you obviously had a music business degree, which is a little bit more applicable than a music performance degree, which is what I had. But based on my conversation with people in that world, it's not much more applicable than a music performance degree. So.
No. Yeah. The thing was, like I joined that band 2014, graduated 2015, and we kind of got a good head of steam going as we were, at least a few of us were a little older, a couple of guys were a couple of years younger. So we kind of first couple of years really just won like the Belmont Battle of the Bands. We, were selling out some shows here, kind of started touring pretty heavily through college and into after college as well. And so it felt like that was going to kind of just be like, okay, this is the trajectory. It's going to just keep going this way, right? We're playing music festivals or at South by for a second year, things like that. We're playing official, performances there. So it's like, didn't, there's always ups and downs, right? And it's, you're going to play to some empty bars to the bartender and sound guy. You're going to, play some sold out shows. And I mean, it was a great experience. I mean, it was probably almost a little under 10 years, I guess, 8-9 years that we did that, toured pretty regularly, but pandemic kind of put a big squash on a lot of that.
Yeah. Was there ever a label deal involved for you guys, booking management, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we got a booking agent pretty soon. Like, I mean, I don't know what year it was, 2015, 2016. I mean, like a couple years into it.
Nice. What company? Was it one of the big ones?
No, it was, not too small, but it was like Madison House. So kind of medium sized. I mean, they put on a lot of festivals. We were with them for a long time. And then we kind of stuck with the agent that kind of found us, at Tin Roof on Demumbrian.
There we go.
Kind of rode with him for a long time. And then, kind of bounced around when he did a little bit too, but
nice. And were you ever signed to record deal or?
So we did have an independent deal.
Okay.
I think like 2019 or something we signed. They were going to put out our first like official full length album. We had released a bunch of EPs, singles, things like that before, all just self-released, and they helped out a little bit, but it's hard to help out when there's a whole pandemic trying to shut down your release dates and your tours and all that stuff. So
when you kind of graduated college and you were playing, and then you started getting into the true business side of music, like working with agents, working with record deal, like those sorts of things, was there anything surprising about that side of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is guessing. I think that's the surprising thing. Is that, people can say they know the answer and the formula for success. But I think that there's no real formula. I don't know I think money is maybe the formula. And just like,
it definitely helps.
Throw enough money at something, it's going to be successful and it's going to work.
That being said, I've played on a lot of rich girls records who have never gotten heard before. So, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have money.
Rich girl records.
Yeah, dude.
That sounds like a company.
Should we start that? I mean,
that's a good company.
Yeah. So, I think that's the thing that it was like, we would have ideas sometimes and managers seemed like they would or wouldn't hear them out. And then it's like, maybe went back here in the back of their brain. And then 3 months later, oh, here's a great idea. And I was like, dude, I just said that last 2 meetings ago, it's like, so stuff like that was kind of frustrating where, it's like you trust in these people that your team, and technically you're hiring them, they should be working for you. Even though they're older than you, it's a weird dynamic in a way, but
I noticed that a lot. And because it always felt like it's like these people should be working for us, but I noticed, and I was never on that side as the artist, just as affiliated and hired by an artist and working for an artist, but it always seemed like it was the opposite around. Like artists would just approach the manager like they were the ground they walked on was holy, and not the other way around. It's like, wait, I thought they were supposed to be selling your product and your music and not vice versa. Like, we bring you ideas and your job is to figure out how to execute them. But I found like once I got eaten up by the system that wasn't necessarily always true.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. I mean, they definitely want your best interest at heart, but, and so you got to kind of think about that at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's like, your band, your vision for it. And I think, above all else, like just go forward with that. And it'll ring through and like, it'll connect with your fans. So don't let them say, oh, the songwriting could be a little bit better on this track, so let's not release your whole album. And we recorded basically like 2 albums before we put out one.
Really?
Because the songs weren't good enough. And it's like, I mean, we were playing them live every weekend, and the fans seemed to like them. You know, it's like seemed to be working.
What do the fans know?
Right,
everything.
Yeah.
Customer's always right.
Yeah. And so with that, like re-recording 2 albums, do you guys feel like you lost time on that
Big time.
in terms of getting things out into the world?
Oh yeah. A lot of steam was lost. I mean, as I kind of mentioned, like at first we were playing all these shows, touring, getting a lot of cool festival opportunities from booking, from BMI as well, helped out a lot. And you know, we played a lot of major music festivals. We played Bonnaroo, Hangout, Firefly, South by, you know, Austin City Limits, Wakarusa, all sorts of ones, you know? And so it's like, you know, we had some cool opening slots too for some bigger bands. And it was just like, okay, well, we need to continue to put music out to support that. It's a give and take, where, you know, this cycle that just kind of keeps happening, where you need to tour, and then you need to put out music to tour off the music, and vice versa, and they feed off each other. I'm not saying anything that people probably don't already know, but if you don't do that and they're not in sync, then
you lose people.
You lose steam. And that's kind of what happened, I think.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because when you get hot as a band or as an artist, you have what I feel like is a limited amount of time to bottle that lightning and make the most out of it. And just get the most runway possible. And if you lose that when the iron is hot, it's really hard to get it back. And it's really hard to, when people are excited about you initially, it's really hard to get them excited about you again 3 years down the road when you haven't really toured or you've not put out new music or things like that. And it's so hard to get that steam back. They're already onto something new.
Yeah.
And it's just such a tough thing.
You can't have the same, you know, I guess you could technically, but I feel like we were playing the same closing song or songs or encore song for years. And it's like, okay, well, we need that next song to keep, you know, putting stuff out and just keep building. And, you know, we didn't really get an opportunity to do that. I think management was part of it. We listened maybe too much. Some of it's on us, you know, it's like, we just need to put out more music. And then the pandemic too. I mean, it was like going from, okay, we're trending up, you know, again, you know, we're playing good shows. There's people attending the shows. And then everyone's afraid to go to shows, you know, for a year and a half. And so
I remember that so well because I was playing with an artist at the time and she was getting ready to put out a record that we played on. I think the record dropped like April 1st of 2020. So you want to talk about the worst possible timing.
I'd have to go back, but I think ours was probably the same. I mean, ours was scheduled for, I think, literally March 2020. So it was
like in the history of time, like bad timing, it just doesn't get any worse than that. And I remember, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is going to be the year. Like a lot of the stuff that we've been working for and doing, like, you know, we'll get it. And I was on the sideman side, so a little bit different than being in a band. But I just remember very vividly, pandemic comes and we had slated for this record release and ours was slated already. So there was no pushing it. There's no going back. Thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars had been spent at that time promoting and getting everything ready. And so there's no going back. And I just started watching. We were slated to play Fallon, Seth Meyers, do a Tiny Desk in Washington. And the emails just start coming in.
Cancel.
Everything's getting pulled. And then, you know, we drop this record and you're in the dead of the pandemic. And it's just like, well, this is going to be hard to come back from, like really hard to come back from. So
people weren't listening to happy music back then.
No, God, no.
I wasn't.
No,
Fire and Rain.
It was
Tears in Heaven.
I mean,
the
it was
saddest song ever.
Right.
It was a good couple of months of just like, oh my God, like just that dark cloud just following you around of like, I've worked my entire life for this, and this was supposed to be the payoff, and the rug just got ripped out from under us, as it sounds like it did for
I
you
also
guys.
went through a breakup like right before. Plus the tornado was like a weird thing too.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like,
I forget the tornado happened the week before everything shut down. I mean, I remember going over to the guys at the Fender office. I was picking up some equipment from them, just getting ready to go back out. And I'm sitting there talking to the rep. And it's the day after the tornado. So it took me like 3 hours to get into town. And sit there talking, and we're just talking. They're like, "How weird is that tornado going through last night? Like, it's just really weird." And then the rep just goes, "You guys been watching this virus in China?" And I was like, and this was the first I'd heard about it. And I'm like, "No, I have literally no idea what you're talking about." And he goes, "Man, yeah, I'm starting to get concerned about it." And I just like. The thought came into my mind and then left, and then like 2 weeks later, it was all gone, and it's all you could think about. So
it felt like a South Park episode or something, man. I swear. Yeah.
I think looking back, it kind of was.
Yeah.
But you did the band side of things, which I've always thought is interesting because it's way different than what I did on the sideman side of things, where I would go and find an artist and get hired by the artist to play their songs. Band is way more of a collaborative thing. You're writing together, you're playing on the records, you're doing everything. It's a group decision. Why did you decide to go the band route as opposed to the sideman route? Or was that just a door that opened for you and you walked through?
I think it's a good question. Yeah, a little bit of both. I think growing up, like I had kind of been in some bands as a kid, and pop punk band. I played percussion for acoustic stuff, and I just kind of had always been like starting or joining bands kind of early on, and just the dream that I think we all have as musicians is like I'm going to be like a rock and roll musician or singer or player or whatever, like I'm going to play stadium, it's like that was always there. And I think, there's a part of me that's still like, I'm still going to crush, big venues and play and stuff. So, it was kind of a door opened. I think, there was a single release show that I got asked to join from, a mutual friend was like, "Hey, any percussionists or anything like that?" And like, we're going to add, a few other members, or not members, but just players for this show at Mercy Lounge at the time. And I got asked, I was like, yeah. And then from there, it went really well. They're like, "Yeah, we've been thinking about, maybe adding a percussionist. Like, do you want to come on the road for a week or two or whatever it was?" And then like that went well. And at the end of the tour, they're like, "Dude, you're great to hang with. You want to be in the band?" Like, I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." So, young college kid, just, like not knowing. I mean, I thought I was I'll do music production. Like I'll go and do a studio. And then I kind of realized I was like, man, I like playing in a studio. I like being in a studio. It's a cool environment, but I was like, engineering, the board, scary. There's a lot of moving buttons and stuff, there's a lot of, I know my way around it, but it's like, it just is a lot. It just stressed me out. And I was like, I don't think I want to be a studio engineer, a music producer, which I kind of thought, if everything fell through, if I didn't find a band to join in college, like that's what I would do. And then I was kind of left in a weird spot of like, where am I going? And then that kind of opened up a big door for me to play and tour for almost a decade. So,
yeah, I remember thinking about the production thing. It's like, it would be cool to produce and like be the guy who's wrangles these records together. And I remember moving down here and like, dude, open up Pro Tools and I have no idea what I'm even looking at. And then I'd be at Belmont and just watch people who were already
just so skilled,
in Pro Tools.
Like, when did you learn this? I was like, I thought I was here to learn this.
Like, and I was like, I am not cut out to produce records. So that was always a funny thing, just learning that. It's like, oh, there are people who are already good at this, and I am not going to pick up this skill. So I focus my energies elsewhere.
Yeah, I went from making beats in high school to being like, I could be a music producer. So,
exactly.
Like, and then someone ate my lunch on Pro Tools, and I was just like, okay, maybe not.
One of the other interesting things about band for me are just the dynamics between people, because for a side gig and what I was doing, if the vibe was off or something just wasn't working anymore, You fire that person,
sure.
they move in, they bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
Those dynamics are not necessarily true for a band because it's a collaborative effort. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a piece of that and has contributed to that. Can you just explain how dealing with some of the personality dynamics unfolded for you over the years?
Man, yeah. I mean, we had a 1.7-piece band with a, touring manager, and like a roadie kind of guy as well, / front of house kind of. There was like, I think one tour. It was like a Northeast tour. We were in my SUV, which technically seats 9, but it's a GMC Yukon.
Only a band guy knows the maximum capacity of a vehicle.
I mean, dude, the middle center console, it actually folds up. And so it's like actually a bench seat in the front. So someone is literally like their knees are to their chest, like / like on the gas pedal on one foot almost. And then we fit 9 in there. So, I mean, I definitely understand, the different dynamics and lack of space. I mean, there's like the inner workings of the band dynamic, right? And like, the creative aspects of it where, okay, I have this idea. I'm passionate about this idea. Like I want the song to go this direction, right? Then maybe another guy's like, I hate that idea. And like, it's like how you kind of say it and how you approach it. And I think just knowing that everyone wants the best for the band is kind of at the heart of it. Mm-hmm. And so if you're able to step back and be like, this isn't a personal attack, even though it was a personal opinion that I creatively thought of. And it's like, I hold it near and true to my heart. And it's like, no, your idea sucked, man. We're not going with that. And it's like, okay, you just want the best for the band, you as well. Okay. So I think there's ways to go about it. I mean, there was times where we were at each other's throats occasionally, but, I'm an only child. I consider those guys my brothers still to this day. It's a lot you work with and work through, and, lack of sleep and drinking and who else knows what,
a lot of coping.
Can make people stressed out and get at each other. But, as long as you love each other at the end of the day, it's all that really matters. And you're in it for music and what music does to other people and yourselves. It heals and makes people happy. So
that's
kumbaya,
so,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a band guy talking.
Yeah,
that's not a bitter, hired gun.
It's funny because I'm the quintessential hired gun, and like I love everything that you just said, the idea of it, but for me it's like the application of it does like it. I could never be put in that situation and be successful. And so it's funny, I just need to go into a situation and where it's like we're playing this artist tunes, whether that's live or in the studio, whether I think they're terrible or not doesn't matter. I'm just there to do a job at the end of the day, and I'm good at the job that I do, but I can't have the personal attachment to it, because if I get that personal attachment to it, like then I'm that person where it's like, my idea is the best. All of your other ideas are terrible. And I lose a lot of friends really quickly. So
definitely two different animals. And I've done studio work as well. And it's hard. I have to bite my tongue. I'm like, I'm literally just here to play keyboards. Yep. I'm just here to play drums or percussion. It's like, if they kind of ask for my opinion, sure, I'll give it. It's like, I'm knowledgeable enough to like suggest, throw something out there if I feel like that's the vibe. Like, you got to read the room. But definitely can step on toes if you're like, suggesting something that's completely different, so.
Yeah, because you're not the artist in that situation, and nor do you have any real affiliation with the artist besides the fact that they're paying you to do this thing. Yeah. Or it's like in a band, you have that, well, I want to take this and make it the best, and I think this idea is going to be the best. Yep. And it's a totally different thing. I always love talking to band guys because they are two entirely different things.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard for me still. Like, I get a session and I'm like, no, just play what they want you to play. Like, you don't have to throw your ideas out there. Like, no, they have it in mind. Like, just listen to the producer or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. Just
it'll be fine.
Do the job.
And then they take out all my stuff at the end of the day off the record. It's like,
I still got paid.
Whatever, it's like not my choice, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's still a cool opportunity. So
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. So you're in the pandemic. Band, do you guys officially break up, or is it one of those things where it's like just the writing is on the wall, this isn't going to happen with the pandemic, or how did that all go down?
So I mean, we actually kept at it. I mean, because our goal was to release the album March, April, or whatever, 2020, May 20, then it just kept getting pushed back. And then we did put the album out. It's called Fresh Out, and I don't remember when that was exactly, but I think, maybe end of that year. And then like, okay, things are starting to let up 2021. Like, let's tour off of it. Still got a good opening slot for a big band as well too. And, kind of tried to just keep going and pushing through. But like when we would tour, it was like, we noticed the fans maybe weren't coming out in full forces like they were previously, that we had lost a lot of steam. And then I guess it was like September 2022, couple of guys were kind of just like had kind of that feeling where it was just like, hey, let's maybe just call it here, and let's still be friends. Let's not, this guy's getting engaged, this guy's getting married, this guy's got a son, it's like we're all hitting 30, and so it's like we could be playing to empty bars and venues and not making any money really and paying ourselves at all. I mean, we were a successful band, but we didn't really pay ourselves. Like as you do with any kind of small business, it's hard to pay yourself first, and like make yourself livable. You want to just keep putting back into it, and keep growing it. So, I mean, every album, song, hotel, gas, everything was always paid for by the band, but like, it's like we weren't really getting paid ourselves. We weren't paying ourselves back. And it was like, do you want to be in your 30s and, your girlfriends, wives, fiancés, kids, like you're on the road, you're, not getting paid, like you're not able to support them. Maybe we're butting heads a little more than we used to as we get older too. I don't know. Different things. And so we just it was kind of not a full, like everyone just agrees to do it all at once. It was kind of like the two guys that were leading the band just kind of said like, hey, I think we got to kind of call it here. And it kind of came as a surprise, but also not. But I think the tensions were kind of there and the writing was a little bit on the wall, and it, just kind of ended it from there. But
yeah. And so you mentioned not really making much money paying yourself from this. Were you doing side jobs, keep afloat? How are you paying the bills during this time?
Yeah, great question. Having like 4 roommates at the time or 3 roommates, that helps with rent. But I mean, I drove Uber for a long time, watched dogs and cats still to this day. And then I went into customer service with Warby Parker eyeglasses as well too. Nice. But yeah,
so just a bunch of
just kind of odd jobs, weird schedules that you can do. And I had kind of first thought about getting into real estate in 2020 during the pandemic too. I was like, do I make the jump then? Because we actually had gotten kicked out of the home we were renting in the Nations in like end of summer 2020.
Yeah.
And like I was kind of feeling it as we were touring home. I was like, this is kind of an interesting job. And I was like, kind of cool. But didn't end up doing it until, last year kind of thing. But
you were like me. You were late to the draw. Well, not late to the draw. We missed the 2020 pandemic and 2021 boom, which is probably a good thing that we missed that.
Yeah. I have another friend that said he kind of got started right then, and no one was helping him because they're all too busy. And so he just was flying by the seat of his pants, not knowing what was happening kind of thing. So,
yeah. And so when did you finally make the decision to jump into real estate, get licensed, do that? Yeah. Walk me through your whole thought process. I know you just said a little bit, it's kind of always interested you. Was there something in you where you're like, I need to do something in addition to music that's sustainable and not just a side hustle to pay the bills?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'll be honest, I think some of it I will attribute to love or hate HGTV. Okay. We would watch on the road. We would be, after a show, we drive after the show, get to a hotel, Holiday Inn Express, shout out.
always solid hotels.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yep. There's there's a couple bad eggs, but for the most part they're clean. Know. So but we would need to widen down a little bit. Some people have their vices. I guess ours was watching Property Brothers at 1 a.m. and falling asleep to that. I think that helped a little bit too. Partially kidding, partially not. But kind of at the end or beginning of last year, 2023, just kind of man, I've been doing the same thing. I've been doing customer service now for a few years. It's the same job every single day. I'm listening to a lot of people just kind of have these issues that seem so mundane to me. I can fix them very easily. And it's I'd rather be solving a real problem. It's vision's important, of course. And but if someone's glasses don't arrive on time, it's there's not a lot I can do about that. And so it kind of wore me thin a little bit. But I did learn a lot from that job and, speaking on the phone, shooting off emails, good systems in place, I would say, which honestly helped my customer service and kind of moving forward towards real estate. But yeah, as you mentioned, I think making money, inflation has been high for a minute and it's coming down, but yeah, it's it's tough to pay for groceries last year and stuff like that. So I was and I was dating a girl at the time too, and kind of looking for that next step to, different things, need a new car, different stuff like that. And so just what can allow me to still play music, which is still truly my passion, still get so much enjoyment out of, but make more money and be able to afford groceries and new cars and adult things that you need to do, life things. So
which when you're in your 20s, you don't necessarily think about. And I know I didn't. It's health insurance, I'll be fine. I'm going to live forever. So,
who needs health insurance?
Die by the time I'm 40. So it was either one of those thoughts, depending on the day. But you start to get older and that stuff comes into full force.
For sure.
It's oh no, that thing that I thought was true is not true. And
what's this spot all about?
It's I should probably go to the dentist.
Yeah, when's the last time I went to the dentist?
All of that.
Dude, my dentist.
What's your primary care physician?
The
ER.
Vanderbilt ER. Triage unit.
And so you dive in, you got licensed, because I forget when we sat down, a mutual friend reconnected us, the past guest of this podcast, shout out Zach Stone, and connected us. And so you got licensed at the end of 23, was that it?
Yeah, I think we got together November, December of last year, 23.
I remember that. I walked over from Nashville Cigar, met you guys,
got
some
pizza. Got some Doughbird,
Yeah, you were still looking to land at a brokerage at that point and talking to a bunch of different people.
Totally.
And getting in at the worst possible human moment to get in. Everybody has said that multiple times over the course of the past 2.5 years, but I think November, December was truly the worst last year in terms of the rate environment and everything going on. And the Federal Reserve people had projected that the Federal Reserve was going to start cutting in I don't know, March or April of that year, and that very quickly did not manifest
until what, yesterday?
Yesterday. So
I don't know when y'all are releasing this, but
and so you get in and you land. How has your first? You're coming up on a year now. How has your first year been in the industry?
Yeah, man. I would say it was definitely, as you mentioned, last year being really difficult. I didn't really know that because it's a new career path for me. So I guess I wasn't really aware of how difficult it had been, all of last year and stuff. So I was kind of just ooh, I'm going to do this. It's going to work out. It's going to be great. I'm just going to just start selling houses. I had no idea how any of it went until I really until that meeting with you and Zach and kind of just speaking with some brokerages and things. I was oh, this is a full sales role. This is they don't just give you leads. No one's just going to, sell this home for me. It's that doesn't just happen. So you got to go out there and make it work. So it took a minute to realize that. And it took me a while to get my license because I was doing 2 bands for a while, customer service, dog watching, walking, all sorts of, odd jobs, as I mentioned. But I'm kind of glad I didn't like get my license at the beginning of last year and then just be like, oh, this is not a good time to get in.
Yeah.
But this year's been it took a little time, get your feet wet and figure out different things. I'm still learning, of course, always learning, but I really love my company, Cry Like. I mean, it seems like a very collaborative, and Zach's with them as well. You guys kind of persuaded me there, I guess, but definitely did my due diligence and talked to a few different other brokerages and things, but just feels very collaborative. I mean, we have sales meetings, we go in, we talk, we share what's coming soon, whose buyer needs or what. And just having the ability to pop into any of the other offices around the state or even Southeast or whatever. But, it's gone well. I mean, I would say I now I'm working with like a mentor for the past few months too. I guess most of the year now, but, it's gone really well. Shout out to her, and I know you met her at an open house once as well.
I popped in and met her and hung out with you a little bit. So I think that's one of the most important things, especially early on. That's why I chose the company that I'm at. There's just a good support system there in place to help and to learn, because otherwise they sit you down at a desk and it's like, all right, figure out how to sell a house, go find a loan. And you're just like, okay. And so it is nice to have those support systems in place for when you do finally find one, because they're not feeding you leads. They're not, you still have to go out and find it, but you know what to do when you do go out and find one and feel a little bit more confident in the process. Even though, I remember my first loan, I had no idea what was happening. And thankfully it was a friend. And like my processor just did the whole deal with me. I'd call her like every 5 minutes freaking out about the last email that I got. And we'd get it done. And so it's awesome that you found somebody there.
Yeah.
My favorite question, what are your most translatable skills from being on the road that long, being in a band, working in that environment, that translate over to real estate?
It's a great question, man. Yeah, I can see why it's your favorite. I think, you interact with so many different people on the road, right? Like you are thrown into situations where you don't know where you're going, what situation you're walking into. Is the sound guy going to be a dick? Is like, the venue going to provide water, not even food or drinks, but like, can you have a towel to wipe off your forehead because you're sweating? It's like, there's so many different moving parts with touring. And I think that can translate really well with real estate as well. Things can come up in an instant where you're, okay, I didn't see this coming, but like, how am I going to interact with that? How am I going to react to it? And just having the ability to talk to different people. And, I met crazy people on the road. It's like, I can work with crazy people here, and normal people, and so, it's also a small business too thing. I think like learning the ins and outs of selling merch, promoting yourself. Like, I like to say that like, I'm totally okay with sharing that I do real estate, because I've been shamelessly self-promoting my band and my music for the last 10 years. So for me, it's like, I'm sure for some people it might be a little more difficult to get on Instagram and post something or
Well, I mean, I wrote, you know what I mean? If you're a writer, you're just I mean, some are very.
I had many conversations about it and spent probably way longer than I needed to thinking about it when I got my mortgage lending license. Because I remember talking to Dan about it, sitting down here and being like, dude, what do I do? Like, do I make separate pages? Do I I don't want people to think I'm another guy in the real estate industry, another failed musician. And Dan was a great sounding board. He's like, nah, dude, you got a thing here and you should capitalize on this thing.
If you have relationships, it's like, capitalize on that. If you get divorced and all, that's different. If you're a writer with songwriters that just want to do that only, they're not going to write with you necessarily. But if you're a cool band guy, with all these relationships. Mm-hmm. That's the going theme. As we have guests and stuff, it's like, look, use your network.
True.
Yeah.
You will eat if you use your network. Lean into the people you know. Like, lean into your center of influence. Expand your center of influence.
Totally.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah, and I found too, like getting into once I started thinking about it, music it's a sales job at the end of the day. Like, it's whether you're on the band side of it or you're on the playing side of it, like I am selling my ability to get this job done. And there are thousands of other people in town who can do this exact same job that I am doing. And so what separates me from everybody else? And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, I don't care. I'm just going to...
That's when you got a tailored suit.
Yeah, I did. And it's
tailored suit and nice watch.
Yeah, exactly. And you can put on both hats, and now it's just kind of fun for me to exist in both worlds. And I like the overlap because I get to work with a lot of people, whether it's real estate agents or clients who are musicians, and like those worlds overlap a lot more than people think they do. There's a lot of guys out there who have music history, are still very much active in music, who are in real estate too, and they go well together.
I know I'm not the first, so
it's neither am I. So, but yeah, it's a super fun way to do it, but yeah, that's funny that you had no problem just throwing yourself out there when you jumped in and telling everybody, because I was a little skittish about it at first. I was like, what are people gonna think? And
I definitely had those self-doubts and things too, of course, but
they all know I'm new,
right?
Mm-hmm. That's a thing.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, that's like everybody says, like the first deal is the hardest because everybody, you're new, and so what do people don't necessarily trust your ability to get the job done, and this is a huge transaction, and so just overcoming all of that. Yeah, it's a bear. So it's always fun seeing your posts out there, and you're good about getting yourself out there. And you've done kind of what I've done. It's like you live kind of in the same world in terms of your social media, or it's like, I do this, playing this Allman Brothers tribute band, and then I do this real estate thing, and all kind of works together. So,
totally. Yeah. It's I've joked that it's like, man, we need to get like at our merch table, like have my cards out and next to our t-shirts, and then maybe you can get pre-approved or something too. I don't know. We got to work on something there.
So another past guest of ours, he plays bass for Luke Bryan. He's got a QR code on his bass that you can scan, and it takes it to his landing page for his.
That's embracing.
Yeah,
that's embracing.
I remember I saw it on Instagram once, and I texted him, and I was like, bro, please tell me that QR code takes you to the financial services thing. And he just sent it to me, and I was like, yes.
Wow. That's awesome.
But yeah, so totally do that.
I'll just do that. Yeah, my next kick drum art is just going to be a big ass QR code.
Yeah. To take it to the landing page. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things, like, capitalize on
That's
it.
That's a good size.
It is.
Yeah.
You can be in the back of the venue doing it probably.
Yeah.
Like, drum lessons? What?
Yeah.
Like, do I have the right guy here?
This
mold
is the same
inspection?
thing. Oh, yeah. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, dude.
Yeah, man.
I think that's a good place to put a bow on it.
I appreciate it, man.
Dude, yeah, we love having you, and thanks for coming and spending some time with us.
Of course, man. This was awesome. Cigar's awesome.
Yeah.
Good spot.
Heck yeah.
Nashville Cigar. Be there.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we could find you on the road with the Allman Brothers Tribute Band.
Yeah,
currently.
man. End of the line, going out in about 2 weeks, northeast, about
Badass.
a week and a half, 2 week long run.
Yeah.
Out there. Busy rest of the year.
Awesome, man.
And
I still need to get to a show that
Officially.
I'm not actually playing the same show at, and am depressed because it's horrid, but
yeah, well, let me know, man. I think Cheekwood, October 17th is our next in-town show. So
heck yeah, cool, nice, awesome. Man. Well, dude, good to see you, man.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks.
Yeah.